Hey, welcome back to the New England Endurance Podcast. Today's guest is a powerhouse in the New England endurance community. He might not want to call himself that, but he is. His name is Andrew Drummond, and he's the founder and owner of White Mountains Ski Company up in Jackson, New Hampshire. I was fortunate to visit that place a couple years ago, and it's an awesome spot. You got to check it out. He's also a self-proclaimed coffee roaster, photographer, event director. Last but certainly not least, just an incredible world-class athlete, someone who doesn't really talk about just, chasing limits. He actually does it on a daily basis. So what I'm talking about is Andrew recently completed one of the most, extreme endurance tests I can think of in the region. He completed the New Hampshire 48 4,000 footers in one continuous push. It took him 4 days, 22 hours and 43 minutes to do 231 miles, setting a new FKT, otherwise known as fastest known time. And he's also the creator of a really cool event I've been following on Instagram for a couple of years called The Last Skier Standing. It's, I won't call it comical, but it's highly entertaining to see, what characters are left over after, I guess, 2 or 3 days of skinning up and down one of the mountains up in the Whites, which we'll get into. He's also involved with the Nordic ski community at Jackson Ski Touring. And we're thrilled to have Andrew on today, the New England Endurance Podcast. Andrew, welcome to the pod. It's great to meet you.
Thanks, Ara. I wear my barista hat with pride here. So coffee's no longer a hobby. It's part of my life.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're a professional. Let's start off with 2016. You started a company called Ski the Whites. And I'm curious, what the spark was. Do you have the entrepreneurial spirit? How did this whole thing get started?
Well, I would say I grew up here in the Mount Washington Valley. I went to high school in Maine at Gould Academy, and college at Colby College. And then I moved out to San Diego as soon as I graduated because I was into surfing. Environmental consulting was what I was studying for, and business biology out in San Diego. There's no better place. So it offered everything I was looking for. And I moved out there, spent 10 years out there, and then moved back here in 2014, hoping to figure out my next thing. And I didn't know what that was. So starting from scratch, I didn't have anything lined up. And I had a little money, a little cushion saved up to see what happened, what fell into place. And I started a small business called C Method with my good high school friend, Marty Odlin, and hustled to do that for a year. And it just never took off. It was all these little hurdles. But through that process, definitely got a little bit of the entrepreneurial spirit where I was just at trade shows, cold calling, walking into hardware stores, getting people to buy this craft fertilizer that we were making from bycatch from Marty's dad's trawling fleet. So we're using dogfish, grinding it up, digesting it in these big beer fermenters. And Marty and I were just seeing if it was going to work out. And it just kept stalling. And eventually it didn't work out. And so it's well, if I'm not having success doing this, what else can I do? And that's when another friend approached me about opening up an account with Fisher as a dealer. And thanks to that
ski company,
Fisher US, their headquarters is in Auburn, New Hampshire. So just outside of Manchester, a couple hours south of here. And so I opened up an account with him, with the company. And next thing you know, I start bringing in all the ski touring gear that I was using. And one thing led to another, and just tons of little incremental decisions led me to opening up a ski shop. And it was nothing I envisioned, but it's where I ended up.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so that's 2016. It's called Ski the Whites. When I visited you a couple years ago, you had a whole bunch of gear other than ski equipment. You had bikes. You had e-bikes, you had gravel bikes. You did some boot fitting. So how did that whole progression?
So this started off in a cubby it started off in my basement back when I was living in Madison, New Hampshire, and working out of my truck. So I was trying to get people to use the modern backcountry gear, which is tech bindings with lightweight skis. You've got the skins, you've got boots that have a nice walk mode to them. And no one in the valley was selling the gear that I was using. So it's why not open up the accounts with the companies that sell the gear? And with that, other opportunities showed up. So one of my friends who ski patrolled at Black Mountain of New Hampshire said, "Hey, there's a room that might be available. You should look into it." So then I went up and met with the owner of Black Mountain. And next thing you know, I was renting a little cubby of a space, but it was all I needed. I had this beautiful venue to work with, and I could keep all my rental gear there. And now I was getting some foot traffic when the mountain opened up. And then I just thought, wow, we have this venue. We should add a bunch of events that don't exist right now in the Valley. So we started Friday Night Lights in that 2017, 2018 year.
Tell us about that. I've heard so many good things about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the landscape of backcountry skiing back in 2016, it was just, there wasn't much community. It was very fragmented and cliquey. You had your touring partners, but there weren't many community events. And at the same time I started Ski the Whites, Granite Backcountry Alliance was started by Tyler Ray. And that was another pivotal moment for the backcountry community, because it was a lot of rallying around this category, this growing category of backcountry skiing, and copying what was happening over in Vermont. So the Rochester area, I don't know, Sports and Trail Alliance, now Ridgeline, that group had already laid out the blueprint of how to create an organization that can take on the responsibilities of glading and
working with like the private landowners.
Exactly. So you're working with private landowners, you're working with conservation groups, you're working with federal land, state land. So navigating that, but you can't just do that with one person. There has to be sort of an entity behind it. And Tyler was pivotal. That was Tyler's baby. His brainchild was Granite Backcountry Alliance. And while that's like widening I equate it to what I was doing was like creating traffic, selling skis. I'm selling the idea of backcountry skiing, and then he's widening the lanes of the highway by increasing the areas that you can go and ski below tree line. Mm-hmm. So that while that was happening, it's a little bit of a feeder system into the shop, but also just like hey, if we're going to be putting people out there on backcountry gear, we also need to be good stewards of the backcountry in general. So that comes with creating community, fostering community through events, through participation with Granite Backcountry Alliance events, glading, and then just, being welcoming of people that just want to get into this sport that we love and is important to us.
So where can folks find you now? Like on your way up to Pinkham Notch? Is that where it is? I forget.
Yeah. So just to follow up that, getting that space up at Black Mountain of New Hampshire really helped out tremendously. So it allowed us to build a customer base. And then at some point, in 2019, I just looked around and I thought, is this it? Am I going to just be a 40-year-old working in this nursery space, or am I going to make a move? And so another opportunity came to buy this building I'm in now in downtown Jackson, which is 15 minutes from Pinkham Notch, where we ski all the time. And it just made sense to invest in the area that I wanted to live. And so when that opportunity came up, it's like, all right, now how am I going to pay rent? How am I going to pay my mortgage? Because this is a big jump from $500 a month to now buying, like, at the time, which was like a $400,000 building, seemed like a way more than I was able to afford. But through like a small business loan, I was able to just put 10% down. So all my earnings from the previous winter went into the down payment. But then what do we do in the summertime? Because I didn't have any real summer accounts open. Most companies wouldn't open accounts in the summertime to me because I didn't have a traditional brick and mortar shop. And so I had to fight like tooth and nail to get my accounts going on the summer side of thing, which is crazy because winter is such a bigger investment and such a bigger risk as far as like the amount of money we're spending on ski gear, where like a pair of shoes is nothing. So it took me 3 years of fighting for that Hoka account before I got it. We also opened up a bike division called Ride the Whites because my coworker at the time was into mountain biking. He's like, yeah, you should open an account with Yeti. You should open an account with Scott, with BMC, other brands that he liked. And I went with it. But I also looked at e-bikes as an opportunity to do something similar with the rental side of things, like what we were doing with backcountry ski rentals, exposing someone to a new sport. So e-bikes, not many people had been on them at the time, and having something else to offer the community that's an outdoor activity that is fun and novel. So yeah, we moved into this spot. We started up bikes. We opened up all our trail running specialty hiking accounts. And then we also bought a coffee roaster, a commercial coffee roaster, and we started roasting coffee.
So do folks come by and have coffee and pastries at your spot?
And no pastries. I mean, they can have like a prepackaged trail bar, but no, we roast a lot. I think
Cool.
in specialty coffee, it's something that I've been part of since, I don't know, 2007, 2008. I started roasting my own coffee in 2013 and just on a home roaster. And it was just always in the back of my mind. And another endurance friend, Pierpont Penoyer, he was a barista and I mean, he's just like a world-class athlete. And we were out on a run and he'd always admired the community around the ski side of things of what we were doing. And he thought he felt that the coffee thing was a no-brainer as well, as far as bringing community together. And he was a barista in Boulder. So he had a lot of experience on that side of things, but we both hadn't roasted commercially before. So we had to learn on the go. Like in the process, we caught everything on fire in the roaster. That was fun. Just like 2 feet of smoke that was in the basement that I thought was going to like damage all our gear. But man, after a few months of that, of roasting and figuring out what the community wanted, what we wanted out of our roasting, and then what to order, we do quite a bit of coffee, I guess. Both like people come in just for the coffee, and we have an online subscription, and
Well, that's cool.
we sell in shop. So that part's really fun, and it's great because we can bring it to events. We just got another espresso machine that we can fire up wherever
Cool.
we have an event going on. So yeah, no, coffee's been a really fun side project, but it's taken a life of its own where if we just cut it off, it would be really disappointing.
Yeah. So at some point in the last few years, you've had to change your name from Ski the Whites to White Mountain Ski Company, and now that's what you are, correct?
Yeah. In 2019, we were asked to change our name by Ski to East because of the similarities. And, I didn't see what they saw, and it was just like a business matter that ended up resolving, and we just had to change our name. It was a lot of wasted energy. It's unfortunate, but it's like you're more than your name when you start building up your reputation, your community.
Absolutely.
But it was tough to do. But I think it was like the silver lining of it all was like the amount of people and amount of customers that just stood up for us or just voiced how much they liked what we were doing. And I think that if there's anything to come out of it, it's like, yeah, we're going to be okay. I think that was clear from the start, but sometimes it's just nice to get a pat on the back sometimes.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, we have like this family that sticks together, and yeah, it shows.
That's awesome. All right. So White Mountain Ski Company, I love to talk about when you go to your website, you see a drop down of these incredibly cool events. And I'm not sure if we'll get to all of them, but I really want to talk to one that to me has sort of become iconic, and it's this last skier standing. Can you describe like how you came up with this and sort of what was your objective when you started this thing?
Yeah, wow. So backyard ultras were a big thing, and they still are in I don't know when it really started, but we kind of took that format and applied it to an event. We have Bubba's Backyard Ultra. It's not like an official format because it does this. It follows the same rule set in that you do 1 lap on this course every hour until there's 1 person left. You can't start the next lap until the next hour. Our course is maybe 3.6 miles, but it's rugged. It's not the same. I think I look at trying to make the right course for this format versus just being like, okay, adopting the format exactly where you'd need the course to be 4.167 miles. So anyway, we started this in 2019, and it was a guinea pig year 0 event, and it worked.
And what is it? We're uphill skiing, right?
No. So this is we're trail running. This is in October of 2019, I believe. And then as part of that event, I always send feedback forms. And one of the participants, Jed Wilbur, said, hey, what about applying this to skiing? And I thought, yeah, that's a dumb idea. I don't think I'd want to do that. All the events I copy, come up with, implement are all things that I just wish existed. So the nighttime ski touring, Bolton Valley was doing their Citizen Series on a Tuesday night. I thought, hey, we can tap into the weekend crowd, kick things off with a Friday night series. Oh, we can do that as well in the summertime. We can have Friday night vertical. We can do a nighttime trail race. So we have that. We have all these other things going on. We took over a 10K road race that I really wish that I got to run in. And so we resurrected that in town. But
cool.
The feedback, when I hear that, I don't just say like, oh, just because I don't like it, no one else will. So then I floated it around some friends, and next thing you know, I had at least 10 people that said, that's a great idea. And then having Black Mountain of New Hampshire right out the front door, and I just ran it by the owner, and he said, sure. All right. So that was all it took for the inaugural year of Last Gear Standing. And I'm sure like we didn't have that many people show up. I'm trying to think of the numbers, but it was like a very special moment for us because it tapped into everything that we love about this sport. It brought in some crazy people, had the entertainment value. It went not that long. I think it went 30. I think that first year went 30 something hours, maybe 32. Because I'm trying to remember, it's all a little bit of a blur, but Rick Chalmers and Kanoa King were going back and forth, and Rick is older, Kanoa is younger, and we didn't know what to expect. It's a new format. And so it was captivating. So we just had a bunch of sponsors, but set up tents. It was a big party vibe, good atmosphere. And it was remarkable because Oyster Rick, he was the winner that year, and it kind of kicked things off. And as a result, it kind of took a little bit of a life of its own because it's so unique. Like no one else in the ski industry, and especially the uphill community, had an event in this format. And still there isn't anything official, which is surprising because I think that you would have other people do something similar with the success we've had, but it's hard. It's a hard event to pull off.
So just so folks kind of understand who might not be into the uphill ski community. So we're on a start line at the base of a mountain with our uphill skis on, basically, right? Our skins.
Yes, I'll run you through it. So you're at the base of Black Mountain. You have your ski touring gear on, and we had a couple different divisions. You were either in a heavy metal, which meant just like could be alpine skis with frame bindings, or you could be on skimo, which is like the other end of the spectrum, super light race gear, basically a full different category. In fact, I made them do an extra little mini loop on the mountain as like a way to equalize it. And then of course you can be a telemark skier, you can be a split boarder. There's so many different ways to uphill, and we recognize all those different categories. But the mountain itself is about 1,000 vertical feet, and you just go up, transition at the top, come back down. If you finish in 35 minutes, you have a lot of time to put your skins back on your skis, dry your feet out, change liners, eat, deal with gear or anything else.
Is it every hour or every 45 minutes?
Every hour.
Okay.
And so there's some, it's people, if you race up and down, you can do it in a half hour, but that's not going to be sustainable. So most people take about 45 minutes, and then that gives them time. It's a little more gear intensive than the running format, but it's also it's less pounding on the body.
Yeah.
So you can recover a little more, and it's a little less intense. So our first year, like I said, it went 30 something hours, then quickly escalated into the 60s and 70s.
70s?
Yeah. The record is Justin Lagasse did 76 hours a couple years ago. And what you, have to realize is that it takes an assist. So you need someone else to sort of push things. If you are the last person left and it's only been 24 hours, then it's over. You won't find your limit unless
you have a competitor.
You have a competitor. Yeah, exactly.
So there was someone who went, 70 hours?
76. So that means there was Will Reed who went 75 hours to be the assist. And, when you start getting into the unknown, it's the unknown for us as well. It starts on a Friday morning and it goes till Monday.
You're telling me these folks don't sleep?
No. I mean, they might take a nap for 5 minutes or something, but they're not getting real sleep.
Oh my God, this is just mind-blowing.
They'll start sleeping while they're going uphill, and they'll just like drift off into the woods. It's crazy.
If you look at the bell curve, like, how many folks, what's the average time? Like, how many folks start it, and what's sort of the average dropout time?
Yeah, so it's 150 people on the start line. That's sort of where we've capped it. We've relocated the event to Black Mountain of Maine. So it has a little more vertical. It's about 1150 maybe per lap. And I would say most people make it, there's some significant drop-off zones. So most people will make it 12 hours. And so it's 12,000 feet. That's not a small day. And if you get to the 24-hour mark, you generally have like 20% attrition. I don't know what you call it, but there's going to be like 30 people left that make it to the next, 10 a.m. the next morning. And then after that, the fall off rate goes pretty quick. And I'm trying to, I don't have the exact numbers, but when you get to in the 40s, you might have 7 to 10 people left. And then it's just people duke it out.
Have you done this before?
No, this is one of the few events I haven't done. I mean, I think there's just too many moving parts right now as an event director to just step away, work with Monty, who's my co-event director. And while he's really good at getting people fired up and getting the most out of them to do another lap, I find myself just stuck to like timing, to the social media, to just general mountain related operations. Just it takes, there's a lot of moving parts in the wintertime. It's not as straightforward as the summer. But for an event that I thought I'd never enjoy, like you have to step back and look at the reasons why people are doing this. And not everyone, most people go to an event. We call it an event, not a race. Most people go to these events not planning on being like in that top 10%. And I think that's
they got to go to work. They got to go to work.
Most people take the days, should bookend some days off, but I look at events as like I want to be in the top. I want to be in the top 10, or I set these goals. And most people, like if I go to a very competitive 5K, like I might not be in the top 10, but that's okay. Like I still have my own goals. And if you kind of strip away that competitive side, it's a real social fun event where you go and then you're having fun for maybe 10 laps and the last 2 laps are super hard. And then mentally you tap out. Most people quit because they're just tired of it. It's hard. It's boring. Like there's elements of the repetition that all of a sudden you're not having fun anymore because it's 3 a.m. There's no one around. It's dark. You're tired. And maybe you'd rather be on a couch or be sleeping. And that's what often takes people out because they don't have like a true reason to keep going, or they hit one of their goals and then they're like, their mind taps out because they've achieved what they initially thought they were going to do.
Yeah. So we just talked about uphill skiing, but I saw on the website you also have last Nordic skier standing.
Yeah, I wanted to keep pushing boundaries with different categories and different sports. So Nordic is a passion of mine. I've Nordic skied ever since I moved back here. I think there's something about skate skiing in particular that I love, and it's just different. I'm a beginner again. And so anyway, Nordic is a whole other can of worms, and I'm like trying to figure it out as far as the format goes, but it seems our shop is right next to the Nordic Center, and we've just been chatting, and I proposed the idea and they were on board with it. So it was an easy lift in order to get that event off the ground. And so last year was the first year we tried it. And of course, like our winters are super fickle, and it's something we deal with for both last skier standing. We have snowmaking that can bail us out, and we've been bailed out by both snowmaking and Mother Nature in the past. And for Nordic, there's limited snowmaking, and the concept of the 1K loop that they snowmake on sounds awful. And we definitely, we don't need much snow, but we need some natural snow in order to make this happen. So we were fortunate last year to just get another test group of
crazy people.
Not crazy, curious, some crazy, some mostly curious, to see like what this format would bring for the Nordic side of things. Would it be worthwhile? And you don't know until you give it a shot. And what we found out was, people liked it. I mean, I think the whole energy around it was similar, but just a different group of people. So
was it mostly skate, or was it classic too?
Yeah, it was mostly skate, some classic, and classics is slower. There's some conditions that obviously favor classic, but that's rare. And so there were some classic skiers that did 100 miles, which is impressive. And I think the big takeaway out of all of this, what I love about the Backyard Ultra format is that it just unlocks PRs for people. You know, the finishers went 200 and something miles, I think, when it was all said and done. And it's like, when else do you get the opportunity and the support to do something crazy like that? And often it takes an event to put up the framework that enables people to achieve these goals. So anyway,
that's cool.
The last Nordic ski year, we had all sorts of weather. We had a snowstorm in there, which was frustrating because it really slowed down the course. But then we had polar vortex move in, and it just became like inhospitable. Like everything froze up, and we were in a rough spot come like hour 30 something in the second night, but people loved it. So we brought it back, and this year we're going to have a little longer course because I was conservative on the length of the course because I didn't want it just to end after 24 hours. So, but what happened was like the fast people were done with like minutes, and it just was like too much time. So we ended up adding an extra loop so that it did fill up a little bit of time, but next year will be closer to like a full 10K, I think. But anyway, yeah. So
that's awesome.
Wow. I think every year we try to add something to the calendar as we build out our event side of things. And last Nordic Skier Standing was an easy one to do. And then this summer we also added the White Mountain 100.
What's that about?
We take the 100 miles of the Appalachian Trail through the White Mountains, and we provide support to whoever wants to sign up. And it was, again, the first year trying this, and we had 20 people almost. We had a lot of interest. We had over 100 people interested, but what happened was we had a rain date because basically the weather was no good the planned weekend, the scheduled weekend. So we pushed it back a weekend, which messes up everything because you have to reorchestrate all the volunteers and then the participants. So we had enough people to figure it out, and we learned a lot. And it's, in my opinion, the hardest 100 in the US.
Where do you guys start for that?
It starts at Mount Moriah. So the way we just run the route north to south. So it's Rattle River Trailhead all the way to Moosilauke, up and over. And so it goes through the greatest hits of the White Mountains because you do the Wildcat Carter Moriah Range into the Pinkham Notch Visitor Center, then up through the Presidentials and over into the Pemi Loop there on the Franconia Ridge. And it keeps going. And then you go up to Lonesome Lake and up and over the Kinsman's and with Moosilauke. And it's a journey, and no 2 years would be the same. No experience is the same. It's like, you move through space and time like that over that terrain, and you're going to have quite the epic.
Okay. Speaking of epic, can we transition a little bit to something you did epic a few months ago?
Yeah.
Is it okay?
Absolutely.
Can we talk about this?
Yeah.
All right. So Andrew completed the 48 4,000 footers, not in 29 years like I did. And if you're watching this on YouTube, I am wearing my 48 4,000 footer New Hampshire in honor of this episode. Andrew, let me sort of lead you into this. So There's 86,000 feet of vertical. He did it unsupported, which is just astonishing. Okay. First of all, what gave you the crazy idea to do this?
Well, it's all crazy's relative, and I hang out with crazier people, I guess. Because I don't know, I'm not, a lot of what I do is it's inspired from other people, and I just take it and run with it. So back in 2015, the short of it is that I paced Scott Jurek on his Appalachian Trail record, and I thought that was the most amazing experience. And I was getting more into ultra running. I mean, that summer I ran a 50 miler, and I always had been reading about the 100 milers. And so there's this long progression to try to just tap into the unknown, because you want to experience, what does this feel like? What is it like to do a presidential traverse? Or what is it like to do a Pemi Loop? What is it like to ride a bike for 100 miles? And there's all these, what is that like? And I think that was what really attracted me to pick a big goal. Like what interests me, and it changes every year. But for whatever reason, after doing it might've been after or before doing that 50 miler, I heard of a woman named Arlette Lawn on a podcast, and she had done this thing called the White Mountains Direttissima, and she did it in, I don't know, 10 days or something. But I had never even thought about this route, this idea that you can link up all 48 on foot, unsupported, carrying all your own food, all your own gear, and you just have to pick the path of least resistance to bag all 48 peaks. And there's nothing more pure than, doing it yourself and not involving a vehicle. And I just thought that really attracted me, because the record, the fastest anyone had done it to that point was like 8 days. And I was like, well, I can certainly do it faster than that, but like, I don't know how fast. So I was like, maybe I can do it in a week. And this is so 2015, get the idea. 2016, execute. Man, I did not know what I was doing. I was fit and strong, but I was inexperienced at this these multi-day efforts. And so I ended up doing it in just under 6 days, and it was amazing. It was an incredible experience, but I did it like my own style. I had friends come out and join me, but 70% of it was on my own. And anyway, so it kind of set the stage, and the whole goal was just to like put a spotlight on the White Mountains. And I think that's a lot of my motivation in those years, both backcountry skiing and hiking and trail running, was like, hey, we have these world-class mountains here. They're so accessible to this region. Why is no one else showcasing them? And so I felt this chip on my shoulder to do a lot of like social outreach about, come, like, check it out. Look at what you can come up with. Look at how you can challenge yourself. And so the Direttissima was a perfect example of that. And I just had this wild experience, loved it. I didn't think I would get on the route again, but over time you forget. It's strange because you forget how hard it is, but you also like get so much better in other ways, because if you look back, you're like, oh, you could have saved so much time here and there, and now you know the route better, and you know how to fuel better, and you know how to, like, what should be in your pack list. Gear gets better. So I had all these things, and the times got faster. A few other people got on the route. Bill Tidd did it. Will Peterson got on it. And I was like, man, this is great. Now I have like a little more reason to do it again, because otherwise I might have just let it go if these other people hadn't gone and put in big efforts.
2016, did you have the FKT?
Yeah, I mean, 2016, it's the FKT was in its infant years. So
okay,
the style I did it was technically self-supported, not unsupported. So
okay,
it was different.
Yeah,
which is fair. I mean, having people join you is obviously an advantage, but like unsupported, strange. Like you can still call someone and chat on the phone, which is in some ways similar to having someone out there with you. But there's no denying that if you have someone in front of you, leading you and pacing you, that's definitely puts you in a little different category. That said, so I went back to this route last summer because I thought, hey, I've learned a lot. It fits in my calendar. I'm just going to kind of push it in there to see if I can do it. And I'll try out some new things and hopefully improve. And I went in August, and it was like cooler weather, and there were some other things that I thought might work in my favor, but ultimately my body said otherwise. And I made it halfway, and my tendons kind of exploded on me. And it was like pretty humbling experience, because, you put it out there and you think you've had good luck with a lot of these objectives that you have, these proclamations that you're going to go do. And I just I limped off the trail on Sawyer River Road, not even halfway, because my feet stopped working.
Wow. That was this year?
This was last year.
This was last year. Okay.
Yeah, so this was last year. So I gave it a shot, because it took 8 years before I was motivated to do it again. And that says something about the route, but also just like, yeah, it might take a little time on your interest level, and you really have to be committed to something like this. And so it's what's strange is that I moved really well. It was cooler weather. It rained a lot, but it was almost too cold, and I didn't have the specificity for the route, for the terrain. So the repetitive nature of up and down really did a number on my I don't know, it's anterior tibialis, maybe that part went on me, and it just made descending so painful. So I had to jump off the trail and reevaluate. It was frustrating because I had so much left in the tank, but what it did was it motivated me to like train specifically for this. And so
what did you do differently? I'm curious. How do you train for something like this?
Yeah, I think the specificity part was like all I could improve on. And that just meant spending a lot of time in the terrain, which I was doing already, but I was doing a little bit of everything that summer. I'd gone and I'd done the Hard Rock 100 course out in Colorado, fast pack that over 3 days. I had done maybe the Vermont 100K, and then I did a 50K in the whites, and then I jumped into it. So it was just like,
Yeah.
I think for something like this, if you really want to get the most out of yourself, you have to dedicate several weeks to just focusing on it. And so what I did was I got a weighted vest, and as soon as I stopped skiing, I did like this training block where I did a lot of hiking, but then I also still worked on run speed, because I think it's really nice transition from ski season is to like get the legs moving. And with that weighted vest, it's simulated having a heavy backpack, and it put a lot of stress on those tendons and ligaments, and just trying to bulletproof my body for what I was going to experience. And the scary part of anything, whether it's like an ultra or something like this, a multi-day thing, is like there's always uncertainty, like you don't go and do it if you don't think you're going to finish it generally. But I just had this self-doubt in the back of my head, is like, what if I have a knee issue, or what if these tendon things flare up? It's like, it's so out of your control, but you're trying to do everything possible in your control to prep for it. So it was just a lot of big days. I did like a 45-mile run through the whites with a lighter weight pack. And then I did like these weighted vest, I got a 40-pound weighted vest on a 15 mountain behind where the shop is, and a couple other bigger days. And that just helped my confidence. It helped prep the body. But when it was go time, I started July 8th. I just didn't know. I didn't know. And so the actual Direttissima went exceptionally well. I think what's cool is that revisiting it, I broke it up into, I knew where I was going to stay each night. I had an A goal and maybe a B goal, and I hit all my B goals. So I knew the distance I wanted to cover, and I just treated it like, hey, every day, you're going to stop. You got your stopping spots. And it was a lot of self-preservation and making sure that I didn't overcook myself, because then you just don't have a chance at all. Yeah. I didn't need, the time I was chasing was Will Peterson's time of 5.5 days. And he admits that that's not like that impressive. I mean, which is hilarious, but that's coming from someone that had the long trail. He's since set other records that are more impressive. And,
wow.
And I agreed with him. I'm like, we were both talking like, this needs to go like 5 days or under. And so that was really the goal. And so I knew where I'd sleep each night. And really what held me up was that my feet just killed at the end.
What did you use for shoes?
I had a pair of Hoka Mafate Speed 4s.
Are those like trail running shoes? They're more like boots.
Trail shoes, yeah. Okay. They're trail runners. They've got good arch support, and they're not the best in any one category, but overall as a whole, they allow you just to go forever. At some point, your feet just get smoked. And that would happen to me around darkness every night. And I would just be like, all right, I need to stop, or else I'm going to be in trouble. And what happened was, first day, fine. Second day, fine. Was it fine? Yeah. Fine-ish. Second day, fine. Second day was fine-ish. Like second day I ended on Tripoli Road on Waterville Valley, right after the Kinsmans and right before Tecumseh. And yeah, I was like, well, if I can do Tecumseh, that's such a bonus. But then I was like, no way. Coming off of the Kinsmans, the Osceolas, I was way off there. Coming off the Osceolas, it's just brutal. I regrouped, and then that next day I pushed over through the Sandwich Range, which is Tecumseh, Tri-Pyramids, past Conway Whiteface, over to Sawyer Pond, and then up Kerrigan. A fantastic day, like such a leaps and bounds better than in 2016, and my body felt great. But when I came off of Kerrigan, I dropped down, and there's like a section of just gnarly wet trail, and luckily it wasn't dark, and I was able to get through this really wet section of trail that took me to the AT, to connect onto the AT to go up to Zealand Notch. But like I sort of pushed it there, and I was like running and shuffling a little bit, and then I started to get some tendon pain, and I was like, oh no, here we go. Like did I just ruin this whole effort by I should have stopped right when I got onto the AT, but I pushed it another 5 miles, like shuffling and jogging because it's pretty flat. And that's all I could think about. These things, it's amazing how your body can go from 100% to just in a switch in an instant.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, that's all you can think about is this this weird sensation of something creeping on. And I got to the exact spot I wanted to stop, and I just, all right, I'm going to lay down and hopefully I'll get up and things will be okay. And fortunately, like I went to bed, didn't rain. It rained actually on that next climb. I went up Mount Hill, but my joints were fine. So
Wow.
I felt like I dodged a major bullet, because at that time too, I started to get little blisters, little hot spots, and that stuff's fine. Like you can work through that, but you can't work through the tendon pain. It's just it's a showstopper. It's one of those things that will take you. Like last summer, it took me off trail, but
Were you popping Advils?
I had a little bit. I didn't bring as much as I probably should have. That only works so
Yeah.
well for me too.
Well, what
I
was
feel-
your fueling sort of? I mean, you hear about folks, when they're training a lot in zone 2, for example, you're eating 100 grams of carbs per hour. What were you doing to keep it going?
I was doing the opposite. I was having like no carbs an hour. It was super hot. It was hotter than I anticipated. When I looked for my weather window, I really wanted it to be cooler weather. I just don't tolerate the heat as well as some other people do. And when it's hot, I drink my nutrition. So I like high calorie drinks like Tailwind or Infinite or whatever company. I make my own of just like maltodextrin, fructose, and some flavor in there. And so when it got hot, I just got lazy, didn't want to eat, and I moved a little slower, and I just started fat burning when I was going up the Franconia Ridge. And then I just had a bunch of snacks in little square bags, little 4-inch by 4-inch Ziploc bags that I would just rotate through. And each day I had one big bag with all my little bags. And I'm like, all right, here's your food for the day. Work through this. And it was a mix of things that I thought I was going to want, which was some saltier things like chips, Cheez-Its, beef jerky, and then sweeter things like gummy bears, Snickers, you name it, and some of that liquid nutrition. And you're just balancing the two. And then at night I would have a protein shake or something.
Did you think about like total calories? Like this bag has 10,000 calories or?
No, I got away from that because when I did that in 2016, I was going for calories based on like density. And so I brought a lot of nut butters and oils and stuff, and that just did not sit well. And so what I looked at is what can I bring with me more than anything? It's like, you don't want to carry a heavy pack, but you're going to have to bring like enough food, and you're burning a ton of calories. And so what I did was I just allowed myself one big Ziploc bag of food per day, which turned out to be around 2.2 kilos, maybe. Is that right? 1.2 kilos. Sorry. So I think it was like 2.2 pounds or 2.5 pounds a day.
How many kilos did you start with, or pounds?
Yeah. The pack, the base weight of the pack was maybe, I need to reread what I wrote, but it must have been like 9 pounds or something. And then when you add your food and water, it gets up to like 25 pounds.
Okay.
But way lighter than the first time because batteries are better. I didn't need to carry as much. I had a lighter pack. I had, Garmin InReach is smaller. Batteries, like I said, there's way more efficiencies. But I brought a sleeping bag this time, and I didn't bring like a full sleeping bag last time. So that's a pound right there. And I brought an inflatable mat instead of one of just the Z ones, the fold up ones. And that worked really well. So I made these like little changes, but it was kind of trading pounds for pounds where I thought I'd need them. So it's like getting rid of some food and then putting that towards like my sleep kit. Because the first time I did it, I brought 7 or 8 days of food, 8 days of food. And this time I just brought 5 days of food.
Wow. Did you ever think you were going to quit at any point after day 3? It sounded like it was getting a little harder.
Yeah, I didn't. No, I didn't think I was going to quit. There was certainly hard moments.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes chasing me and that just deep fatigue. I was more feeding off of the progression I was making because after failing last year, when I made it past that halfway point, I could take like a deep breath and I was like, okay,
yeah,
now we're going again. Let's let's keep pushing. And what happened was when I got to the end of the day 4, end of day 3 into day 4, I was on the top of Mount Wildcat Mountain. And I was like, all right, this is it. But I didn't really do my research as far as the mileage I had left. And the Cabot-Wombec range there is like a place I never go.
I mean, that's a lot of road miles there, right?
It is, but it's like goes by quick. I mean, when you think about it, if you can shuffle at 10-minute pace, it's like 12 miles total. So you can move pretty well. Yeah. It's like less than 3 hours on road there. That's how I look. That's how I just rationalized it. I mean, my feet. So what happened was I basically did not have another sleep spot because I was like, I'm going to get up from Wildcat and I'm just going to go and finish this. And so that turned out to be almost a 24-hour push with like a couple little naps, 5 or 10-minute naps, but otherwise up and moving. And then my feet got wet, but just the nature of being on the trail, and then it rained on me, and then I would just jump in creeks and jump in rivers, jump in anywhere I could cool off too. It felt refreshing. It would wake me up, and my feet just got so wet, and I ended up developing trench foot, and it just made a hard day just that much harder because I was barely making progress through the Kilkenny Ridge Trail, which is just blowdowns, and you can't see your feet because the ferns it's so overgrown, and there's no one out there. It's just like it's crazy. And so I just called it this purgatory where it felt like I wasn't moving at all. I wasn't making any progress, and ultimately like that was the crux of the whole thing. And I just completely underestimated it, because if you mentally know what's coming, you can prep for it. And I knew a lot of the other parts of the route. I knew how steep and punchy certain trails were, and I knew how difficult some sections were going to be. But man, I underestimated what was going to happen to me at the very end.
Wow. And so what mountain did you finish on?
I finished on Cabot. Okay. And I was out of it because I summited and I was like, wait a minute, there is a summit sign here, but I can't find it. So the last thing I want to do is miss the actual summit. And so I'm running all around, and ultimately I had to, which wasted so much time just being unfamiliar with the trail. And I had to pull out my phone to see if I was on the true summit, but then like all my batteries are running low, and I forgot my I didn't bring my spare headlamp at that point, and I was cooked. And I just kind of laugh at the situation that you're like, you work so hard to go so fast, and then you just blow all this time at the end. Must have blown like a half an hour just trying to figure out where I was on the trail. And I'll never forget being up there being like, all right, this is it. Now we just got to get out of here, it's a 4 or 5 mile exit off the mountain. And it was so hard. And I bet I'll go back there and I'll be like, I can't believe I thought that was so hard. But that trail's been eroded, and a stream is running through it. It's muddy, and my body is trash. It's at night, and I just wanted off the mountain.
Where do you stop the timer?
At the trailhead. So I had to make it back down to York Pond Trailhead. Got it. Yep. Yeah, I was there. My partner Hillary and my coworker Spencer greeted me, and my dog Squall, and that was it. And it was like, you explain it. I don't know. It's so satisfying to put your mind to something and go and execute it, something that very few people have done. And it's just so rewarding to make it through. I just never thought I would be back in that position. And I never thought that the response from the community would be as big as it was, because in my mind, routes are validated by the number of attempts on them. And this is just something that had sort of gone dormant in the way that I viewed it.
Well, it's funny about the New England endurance community because, I'm part of a few groups of cycling clubs, but we're all, sort of cross training and doing hiking and doing cross country skiing, whatever it might be. And so when your results came out for this, it must have ended up in like 3 different sort of mailing lists that I'm in. Like, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Is this for real? So there were a lot of kudos you probably didn't hear from just, folks thinking it.
Yeah, I felt it. And trust me, in 2016, I was live streaming. I would get on, at the time, Snapchat, and I would post stuff on Facebook live. Like, I was doing everything to be like, hey, this is happening. This route exists. And look how cool this is. Like, people can come, anyone can come and do this. And this is the whole different perspective on this area that I grew up in. And yeah, that energy was gone this time around. I was like, all right, I'll go do it. I'm doing this obviously because I want to do it, but I'm not expecting there to be much of a reaction from the community. And it was, I think it just reinforced everything that I've done at large here with White Mountain Ski Company and the events we're doing. It's just like, hey, we have it pretty good here. We live in like this mountainous region where you can be a professional rock climber, ice climber, trail runner, skier. We have it all. Like the mountains here let you do these multi-day excursions, and you can really test yourself.
Yeah, big time.
And so to share that again a second time and to see like, okay, this wasn't lost on the community. This is something that it's just really hard. It just turns out it's a really hard thing, and not many people have put in the effort to do it. But I think that's going to change. I think gauging from the response I saw, there's no reason there's not going to be more attempts on it. We had Lexi Jackson set the women's record in 5 days in like 14 hours or something. I mean, she absolutely crushed it. She's tiny. She's a tiny person, and she like had the same amount of food as I did, which is crazy to think. Like she was carrying that much weight.
That's
but
awesome.
Anyway, I think next summer my record will go down and someone else will enjoy it. And
yeah,
I'll just smile knowing how much
hard
pain they went through.
We've talked about your entrepreneurial activities. You're sort of an ambassador for the White Mountains. You're an extreme ultra endurance athlete. How do you view yourself in this community?
I mean, I think the easy way out is just someone that's like fostering community through actions and what we're doing through events. But I think I'm like a regional elite athlete. I'm not nationally ranked. I'm not doing anything groundbreaking, but I think there is this niche of unsupported multi-day stuff that I think like I'd love to tap into more. And it's just such a small subset of endurance sports, but it's something that I would do anyway, like I'm going to go do the long trail next summer unsupported. Bill Peterson has that record. I have no clue if I'm going to be in shape to challenge it, but it's like, I'm going to go do it because it's a premier route and I want that experience. It sort of goes back to what we were talking about originally. You don't have to do something just to get an FKT or just to win or just to place. I think like that's something I learned a long time ago. It's like do stuff because you want to do it. Do stuff because you want to relate to it. I go and I'll run hard on some of the routes here in the White Mountains, and I'm not coming close to the records, but it doesn't matter. It's like go do some of these classic routes and then make up your own routes. But it's the FKT is just like a small byproduct of the reason why we do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
In the first place, it's like, what are we capable of? What does it feel like? How do we tap into that unknown?
Okay. Couple of final questions here. Number one, on your Instagram, are you actually going up to the summit of Mount Washington like multiple days a week?
I wish. I go up as much as I can. I think this AM commute I do started from 2023 when I went up 100 days in a row. And that like was a whole different thing, but it never gets old to be able to like go summit this peak before work and experiencing. Yeah, there's enough trails and enough variety in the weather systems that most times it's not boring. Some days are pretty painful, but I go up there as much as the weather allows. But if I get to ski, the summit doesn't matter. So then I'll just be skiing because I don't care about peak bagging in the wintertime. It's just all about finding good snow.
Speaking of peaks, what's your favorite peak in the White Mountains or I guess in all of New England?
White Mountains. I mean, so Katahdin is a strong second. I mean, Mount Washington's just the easy one because it's right up the road and there's so many different trails up it. So, and that's where I ski. But Katahdin is like nothing. I mean, there's nothing else like Katahdin. So it's geographically striking. And then the other one, it just out of the 48 that I love is Kerrigan. I've just has a special place in my heart because it's 360-degree views from Kerrigan are just insane.
Is that the one with the tower?
Yeah, it's got the
Yeah.
tower, and there's a loop we do called the Nancy Kerrigan loop, which goes up to Nancy Ponds from Route 302, and it goes up the backside, up the Desolation Trail, and it's incredible. It's one of my favorite runs in the White Mountains. That's like the runner-up honorable mention.
That's awesome. Okay, for anybody who's listening who dreams of blending an outdoor passion like you have with sort of this endurance vibe, what's your one piece of advice for these folks who are listening?
Yeah, you just got to go for it and try. I don't think any of this nothing was guaranteed. And I honestly think the fun part of this, of starting a business, are those years when you think like you might fail. And I've said this before, but it's like those times you don't think you're going to fail. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. Much like a FK,
Yeah,
much like a Direttissima, I wouldn't do it if I thought I was going to fail. But that uncertainty is what makes it special, because it's not a given. It's something you have to work for. And so just there's so many parallels with endurance sports and like starting your own business, but it's like, yeah, you got to put the work in and you'll get out of it what you put into it. So
100%. Yes.
and it's funny because I can't remember, there was no glaring failures because somehow they present themselves in other ways. So if something didn't work out, generally helps spur something else, I think. Or maybe I've been lucky and I haven't had anything really backfire, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just everything was like, nothing was overnight. It was all incremental. And the core of everything I do is based on like what feels right.
Mhm.
So I'm not chasing anything. I'm just doing what feels right at the moment and then hoping that it pays off in the long run.
Yeah, that's sort of what I tell folks. Follow your passion, but also be prepared to grind a little bit. It's going to be a long slog. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah. And I think if it didn't work out, I have other skill sets. I could get a job again. And so at least having that in the back of my mind helped launch me forward in the first place. It's like, have confidence that you are a capable individual and have a skill set to fall back on. But you have to give it a shot or else you'll just never know.
Awesome. Andrew Drummond, anything else we should wrap up with today you want to mention about the White Mountain Ski Company or any events coming up?
Yeah, what do we got coming up? We have our turkey trot to benefit Girls on the Run program for the local school. That's fun. I love a good turkey trot.
Yep.
So that's something that we started up when my old turkey trot down at King Pine stopped happening after COVID. But yeah, we're in ski mode now. I mean, it's winter here in the Mount Washington region, and I just want to be a resource. So if anyone wants to get into backcountry skiing, this is a great starting point, because part of starting White Mountain Ski Co. was to offer something I wish existed when I got into the sport, and I wish I had all this gear, some expert opinions on what I should do. Like if I go into a bike shop, I don't know anything about bikes, so I want that mechanic or the salesperson to listen to me, what I want to do, and then give me a couple options and point me in the right direction. And so that's what we try to do with
That's
everything we
awesome.
sell. And
what's your favorite uphill ski for someone who is a novice?
Well, something that's like light, but not, that still offers support. I think like if you're a novice at downhill skiing, then you're going to really benefit from just some laps, some time at the resort. So you should probably be getting a season's pass somewhere and doing reps downhill, because the number one thing I see is people come into backcountry from all different backgrounds. You might be a hiker, you might be a triathlete, you might be a Nordic skier, but not everyone has this alpine downhill pedigree. And by doing reps and working on drills, your technique is going to be better. You're going to have more fun, but you're also going to be safer. So if you're skiing more assertively, your tendons and stuff are going to be less vulnerable. So number one is just repetition and invest in learning the technique. And then, of course, go and do your reps uphill. And we always tell customers to figure out the gear first, go to a resort where everything is safe and you can just focus on the gear. And then when you're ready for the backcountry, that's a whole nother jump. But
Yeah.
we have a ton of resources too for helping people that have figured out the front side uphilling, and now they want to go into true backcountry. So that's
Cool.
something like we're happy to help. And if you go to our website, whitemountainski.co, you can always see what we've been up to. We have a run blog and we have a ski blog. And anytime we go out, we like to document what we're seeing, what we're doing. And that's a huge resource too for the community, because
Like every week you do that?
almost every day. Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's a fantastic resource.
I don't think anyone went up today, but like on the weekends, yeah, and leading in. So we just try to let people know where the best skiing is, and what, if we haven't gone out, chances are we know someone that's gone out, and that's awesome. So it's this great way to share information. And
Wow,
again,
that's
to be
really cool.
to be a resource, because I know I was just down in Boston this weekend, and it's a different world down there. So you're just so out of touch.
Yeah.
Like I'm 10 miles down the road and I have no clue what's happening up there, because it's at elevation and it's a different ecosystem.
Fantastic, Andrew. Thank you. So that wraps up today's episode of New England Endurance Podcast. What an epic episode we had. Huge thanks to Andrew Drummond from White Mountains Ski Company for taking the time, showing us behind the curtain of his business and behind this wild FKT that he accomplished. Huge congratulations, Andrew. So if you want to learn more, Andrew mentioned whitemountainski.co, and follow Andrew on Instagram at SR_Drummond.
Yeah.
Sir Drummond.
Well, it's no. Well, the
What is it?
backstory.
Okay.
I was living in Mexico, so Senor Drummond, when Instagram came out, and so that's why I ended up with that.
That's fantastic.
But Sir Drummond works. That has a nice ring to it.
I'll also tag them on our Instagram as well, which is at New England Endurance. So until next time, get out there, keep pushing your limits, drop some hammers, and enjoy the beautiful terrain of New England. Thanks, Andrew.
Art. See ya.
See ya.